Hey guys, this is John from US Dash Camera. Today I got a review on the new Thinkware Q800 Pro. This model is the upgrade to the previous Thinkware model, the F800 Pro. Now there was an F800 non-Pro model, but with this release there's only the Pro model. And the Pro model, which we'll talk about later, includes cloud features. So this camera was sent to me for review by Thinkware, so I'd like to thank them for sending this out. In the past, Black Box My Car has sent me review units and offered my viewers coupon codes, so if you are interested in any of the products discussed, check down below in the description for coupon codes for $10 off orders over $100 or more, or $30 off orders over $300 or more. Now, Black Box My Car is one of the biggest retailers of dash cameras in the United States. They are one of the major sellers on Amazon too, but those coupon codes are only available through their site, blackboxmycar.com. I'll provide Amazon links down below if you prefer that though. So this camera is sort of a minor upgrade from the F800 Pro. You could think of it sort of like how the iPhone 6 went to the iPhone 6S about a year later. One slight difference is I noticed it has a slight blue tint to its body instead of all black. It has pretty much all the same features as the F800 Pro, including using the same rear camera, but the front main camera is upgraded to QHD, otherwise known as 2K or 1440p, up from full HD 1080p of the F800. QHD or 2K is 4 times the resolution of 720p, while 4K is 4 times the resolution of full HD 1080p. It is worth noting, Blackview has had a pretty great 4K camera out since last year. While this one is only QHD, Thinkware has shown a 4K model at CES this year that will come sometime in the future, so if you're interested in a bigger leap to 4K, keep an eye out for that 4K model from Thinkware. So included in the box we have a 12-volt power cord, and if you want to use parking mode you will need an optional hardwire kit, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on, including the parking mode. You get a mounting plate with a 3M adhesive, and you do of course get a spare adhesive. You get a quick start guide in several languages. You get some adhesive cable clips that sort of just help you wire the cords around your car if you don't have anywhere to tuck them in. We have a micro SD card USB adapter so you can transfer files to a Mac or PC. And we got some other pamphlets like warranty information. You can also buy it with the rear camera, which features a 1080p Sony Starvis image sensor. The great thing about Thinkware cameras is you can buy the front channel and buy the rear channel later. Blackview has one channel versions, but they do not allow you to add a rear channel later, so you must buy the 2-channel Blackview models up front if you want the rear channel. I already had the F800 Pro installed in my truck, and since they are similar and use the same rear camera, I'm just going to swap the F800 and the Q800. I will be showing some samples of both side by side for the front camera, but since the rear camera is the same, I'll just be showing you some samples of the rear channel with the Q800, because I don't have another second rear camera to run side by side, but according to Thinkware it'll be exactly the same. The Q800 features a QHD Sony Exmor R Starvis image sensor in the front, providing, as I said, the 2K 1440p at 30 frames per second with a 140 degree wide angle view. Powering the camera is the Ambarella A12 CPU, the same CPU that was in the F800 Pro. Looking at the actual camera, you can see it's got a GPS, record, and Wi-Fi LED. We got a a mute button if you want to mute your audio. You can hold this format button down for several seconds if you want to format the memory card, although they do claim it has format-free technology, so it's still recommended you do that once in a while. We have the Wi-Fi button, which we'll touch on later. We have a power button, which I really like because you can turn this camera off manually if you're hardwired in, and then later it'll turn back on when your car starts. And I'll talk more about that with the parking mode. And then this big button here is the lock button if you want to manually lock a file from being deleted. On the side here you can see we got the rear video in, we got the power in, and that's not a port or anything, but that is where the GPS antenna is. The Wi-Fi allows you to connect to an iOS or Android app to change your settings and save files to your phone. This is very useful, of course, especially since this dash camera doesn't have a screen. Now, some people like having screens, but the reason a lot of people, like me, prefer cameras like this is it makes your dash camera very small, stealthy, and just very discreet, and then you can just copy files from your phone or to your phone over Wi-Fi and change the settings with the smartphone app. Now, if you have a wireless hotspot in your car, you can connect the camera to the cloud. This is the same cloud feature that the F800 Pro featured, so you can see where your car is, how fast it's going. You can get notified if it's in a crash. There's also a geofencing option, which will allow you to be notified if the car leaves a certain area. Unfortunately, this is only while your car is on and driving. There is no parking mode cloud features, so this is more something for like parents who want to keep track of their kid driving their car, or if you are a company that has several cars, you can keep track of your fleet. One thing to note, when you set up your Q800, it'll ask you to connect to a Wi-Fi hotspot called Thinkware.
On your smartphone, connect to a Wi-Fi network whose name starts with Thinkware.
It will continue to alert you each time it starts up, unless you set up the hotspot connection. For people who are not a fan of these audio alerts, you can mute them using the smartphone app. The Q800 does offer all of the audio alerts that previous cameras have had, such as when you switch from parking mode to continuous recording.
Continuous recording will now start.
And of course it will alert you if it senses any impacts during parking mode, but sometimes that's just you shutting your own door.
During parking mode, motion detection recording. 2 and event detection recording. 1 occurred.
The camera also includes speed camera alerts, but I have no way of testing this because my state doesn't allow speed cameras, and there are also advanced driver assistance systems such as lane departure warning, forward collision warning, urban forward collision warning, and front vehicle departure warning. I do want to note that my rear camera is on my truck's topper window and it is tinted pretty dark, so that is going to affect the video quality. The video quality during the day looks pretty good, but some will notice it does look a little pixelated compared to some dash cameras. Typically a lot of the more basic dash cameras like the Vifo A129 might have an edge on video quality, at least on first appearance, because you sacrifice a bit of the video quality to have all these advanced features because it takes processing power to do all the extra stuff. To some people, these extra features like automatic buffered parking mode is not worth it. Personally, for me, it is. What it comes down to is whether or not you can read license plates, and I find most of the time a lot of cameras are closer in video quality than people realize for readability of license plates. But you may find at higher speeds, license plates become harder to read. Some sort of high speed and hit and run is where some cameras with slightly better video quality might actually have an edge, where you might be able to read plate on one camera but not the other. But personally, I feel like I'm more likely to be a victim of a parking lot hit and run than a hit and run while driving. And while the car is parked, since it's so low speed, you don't really need 4K video or 60 frames per second to just record someone at low speed bumping into you. You really have to decide what's best for you. I can't tell you if you really need an advanced parking mode and should sacrifice video quality or not. Now the rear camera looks about the same as the F800 Pro. It looks decent, and there's definitely cameras out there with better looking video, but for the day quality it's definitely good enough. Again, some people might notice pixelation, especially when it's going at high speed. The rear camera at 1080p 30 frames per second is only 10 megabits per second, which is pretty low for a lot of people's standards, while the front is 1440p at 16 megabits per second. Now there's a lot of 1080p dash cameras that are 16 megabits per second, so some people might expect something higher like 20 megabits per second for the front and 16 megabits per second for the rear. But all in all, this is going to come down to the processing power of the hardware. Now the night quality definitely takes a hit like most cameras. I compared it to the F800 Pro, and at night it looks pretty similar, even with the 1440p in the Q800 Pro. I also tested it against the 4K Blackview camera, and the 4K Blackview camera doesn't really look much better at night either. So when I was comparing these different cameras, including the A129, it seems like at night they might look different here or there, but then when you pause it and try to read signs, it's really hard to notice much of a difference. But again, this might come down to how fast you're going, how many street lights there are, different conditions like that. But as I mentioned before, the rear window of my truck, since it's tinted so dark, I didn't want people to really judge this footage based on what I have. Now, again, during the day it looked okay because of the bright sun, but at night it definitely looks way too dark, and I bumped up the brightness, and it's just not a good representation because of the dark tint. So I highly suggest people try to find other rear camera samples if they're out there, if this is a big concern. Overall, I felt that the rear camera, regardless, in parking mode is going to be good enough to capture anyone reversing or bumping into me. So in the end, the video quality is decent, but if you're looking for the best video quality for a 2-channel system, this isn't it. You really have to accept that you do lose some video quality to include all of those other features. Like I said, you really got to decide what's best for you. Now I wanted to talk about the parking mode. The Q800 Pro comes with the same great parking mode Thinkware has had for several years, including some of the newer features introduced with the F800 Pro. Now, you are going to have to hardwire the camera, and there's a couple different ways to do that, to use the parking mode. You can't run this off of a 12-volt power cord, because the way Thinkware cameras switch to parking mode automatically is when they sense the car is off. So it does that by having a 3-wire connection, which one wire will be a ground, one wire will be an ACC fuse, which is only on when the car is on, and then one wire goes to a battery fuse, which is always on even when the car is off. And that's how it gets power during the parking mode. Now my setup, I have an auxiliary fuse box to make reviews easier. So here you can see how there's several different fuses, and when I do tap some of the fuses, they do light up. And my truck is off here, so those are the battery fuses, and then some of them don't light up because the truck's off. Now, hardwiring is a whole other video, or could be a whole other video, so I'm just going to provide a link down below in the description if you want to see how to hardwire a dash camera. Another option for hardwiring is using something like the CellLink Battery B, which can plug into a 12-volt socket, but I recommend you hardwire it, because if you hardwire it, it does charge much quicker. They do have a newer version called the Neo, and I gotta warn people, these are very expensive. The Neo is about $300 or so, and you do have to make sure you get the Thinkware specific 3-wire version, so that way the CellLink Neo connects to your fuse box with the 3 wires, and then your Thinkware dash camera also connects to the battery with 3 wires. You don't need one of these. You can just hardwire it without a battery in most cases. People tend to have these if they have some sort of luxury car that has issues if you hardwire into the fuse box, or if you live in a very cold climate, you might want to use one of these so you're not running your battery down low all the time. But again, the Thinkware offers that winter voltage protection, so that's another layer of security from running down your car battery. So again, you don't need one of these CellLink batteries, but it's definitely an option out there if you can afford it. So the different parking modes is just like the F800 Pro. The default mode is the motion detection parking mode, which is constantly buffering 10 seconds of footage on its own internal memory. If it senses motion, such as a person walking by or an impact, it'll save that prior 10 seconds, then continue to record for 20 seconds or longer until the motion stops. In this mode it's recording at 15 frames per second and about 10 megabits per second instead of 16 megabits per second for the front. And the benefit of this buffered motion detection is it'll capture someone or something coming into the frame before they impact you or before they walk into the frame. So you're capturing before the lead up to whatever happens. Now this can be an issue because if you park in high traffic areas with the motion detection, it might just keep recording all day, which will both run down your battery quicker, and this could also fill up your memory card an entire day depending on the size of the memory card. So another option if you want to save power is the low power mode. This mode puts the camera into a deeper state of sleep, and if it senses an impact it wakes up and will start recording immediately after. So although this option you do not have the 10 seconds pre-buffered, so you do have to take that into account. A third option is Time-Lapse, which instead of regular files, it records low frames per second time lapses. This will allow you to record hours of footage without filling up your memory card. So this is an option if you don't, or if you're worrying about filling up your memory card with that default motion detection mode. The obvious con is you don't get real-time video of the events. So guys, in conclusion, after about a month of using this camera, I'm happy to say this is a pretty solid camera. But as I said before, if you have the F800 or F800 Pro, I don't really recommend upgrading. It's too similar to those, so I would personally wait for the 4K model if you want to upgrade. Of course, I do like the fact that Thinkware has some special features such as winter protection mode. We have the built-in voltage protection and timer, as opposed to use something like this PowerMagic Pro. This is Blackview's hardwiring kit. This is a separate box you gotta hide somewhere, where the Thinkware hardware kit is just a cable, and all of these features are built into the camera. So I really like that about Thinkware too. I hope this video was helpful for you guys. As I said before, I'll provide links down in the description and coupon codes if you're interested in purchasing any of these. They are affiliate links that do help support my channel, because I do buy some cameras and devices to try to review also for you guys. They don't all get sent to me by companies like Thinkware. But again, if you like my videos or if you find them helpful, I'd appreciate it if you hit like and subscribe. And if you hit that bell icon, you will be notified at any time I upload a new review. So, as usual, drive safe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.